We need an example of just how interlinked ecosystems can be and how easy it is for humans to ruin that. Use this. This is a jewel damselfish. It lives in a lot of tropical reef areas, including here in the middle of the Indian Ocean on this archipelago called the Chagos Archipelago. Starting about 300 years ago, about 5 of these islands got infested with invasive black rats, which was horrible for those islands, but is also a fascinating opportunity to look at what happens to those islands versus the islands that didn't get infested. And there have been changes. The islands that have rats on them currently have 720 times lower seabird densities than the islands that didn't get infested with rats. Rats have eaten so many seabirds and so many seabird eggs that they've virtually wiped them out of these 5 islands, which turned off the tap of one of the main nutrient sources for the islands. When seabirds fly out to feed, they come back and dump out the waste. So when the rats went up, the seabirds went down, and that meant that the guano went down as well. And that affected the reef. Because there was less seabird poo on the land, that meant less seabird poo was getting washed into the ocean, and that meant that the islands with rats on them had about 250 times less nitrogen in the reefs around them. Nitrogen is important for a lot of stuff to grow, and one of those stuff is turf algae. It's pretty common to find on a reef, but it is very important to you if you're a jewel damselfish. We're nearly there now. Jewel damselfish farm turf algae, and they fight with each other a lot to defend their little patch within the reef. But around the rat-infested islands, there's less nitrogen in the water, which means the turf algae is less nutritious, which means the jewel damselfish have to grow more of it to survive. And because their algae is less nutritious, it's also less valuable, so the jewel damselfish around the rat-infested islands are up to 5 times less aggressive. So rats arrived on these islands, took out the seabirds, which meant there was less guano getting washed into the reef, which meant the reef had turf algae that was less nutritious, which made the jewel damselfish on the reef less aggressive towards each other about defending their farms. And that's not even the end of it, because they're not only just less aggressive towards each other, they're also less aggressive towards other fish. They like their farms and they don't like anything else touching it, so removing their aggression from a reef could have these far-reaching consequences for all sorts of other interactions between fish species. And all of those changes in the water are only happening because rats were introduced into the island above.